The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy in Nigeria, Obiaraeri, has blamed the current level of inflation in the country on the printing of trillions of naira during President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, which was not backed by any form of productivity. Now, the minister stated this during an interface with the Senate Committee on Finance on Wednesday, pointing out that the government would audit the 22.7 trillion naira printed by the last administration. The minister said that sum, printed by the Central Bank of Nigeria, through the Ways and Means overdraft for the federal government from 2015 to 2023, caused Nigeria to experience hyperinflation.
Inflation. And you have helped to solve that. But where has it come from? It's come from 8 years of just printing money. And the issue is that that money was not matched by productivity. It's not like when you earn dollars and you print the naira alongside it, although there's even a better way than that. But that's still not as bad. It's not as if the money is matched by productivity, increase in output. It is not. And what happened was that for 8 years, the weak were left to their own devices. It is the privileged few that took everything. That's the reality. So that money supply must be sucked back out to balance the economy.
Well, let's cross over to our Lagos studio and bring in our guest for this conversation. Nnaemeka Obiaraeri, thank you so much for joining me on Arise Prime Time today. Let's begin by asking your reaction to Minister Edun's comments. He says, under the Buhari administration, the consequence of the 8 years of printing money without productivity is high inflation confronting the country. He did not stop at that. He also says that the result was not felt by many, but just a few. They printed this money. There was no productivity to show for it. And that's because it ended up in the hands of a few. What did you make of his comments?
Minister Edun's submission is 100% correct. 100% correct. Not just that they printed 23 trillion, and there was intervention of about 10 trillion from the CBN and the Humanitarian Affairs Ministry that was laced with corruption and the consumption that was not tied to productivity. And if you look at the inflation rate 2013-2014, before the emergence of Buhari 2015, it corroborates what he submitted. Inflation rate 2013 was 8%, 2014 was 8.05%, and it started rising in 2015 till 2023 because we had 23 trillion naira printed without being tied to any production. We had 10 trillion naira wasted, and even beyond that, we had our dollar resources frittered away in such atrocious manner that up till now, I am so shocked and surprised that the current government, they are not digging to see how they can make recoveries to help salvage the economy. I give you a typical example. In 8 years, 16 trillion naira was wasted, 34 billion in failed turnaround maintenance program and subsidies on petroleum product. Petroleum product that was laced with overpolluted import volumes and consumption. I will give you an example. From 2002 under Obasanjo to 2009 under Yar'Adua, our average daily PMS consumption was never up to 28 million liters a day. And that was a period when we had an economy that was booming, economy that was growing at about 6.5% average GDP growth, an economy that had a buoyant middle class of about 4 million, an economy where minimum wage as at 2011 was about $116. At a time, Nigerians had higher purchasing power. We were consuming only 28 million liters a day of PMS. Then came the madness of 2010-2011 under Desiani and Jonathan. And of course, National Assembly did a probe and discovered that 30% of the 45 million liter volume that they banded were Ponzi. But you will discover that shockingly, from 2016, the numbers rose to average of 55, 65, 68, 71, 91 million liters of PMS, purportedly imported and consumed in Nigeria. Even when DPR in 2020 told us that even by their own estimate, it was about 38 billion. 38 million liters. So there were loads of activities within that time that so much monies floating around, monies entering into private pockets, monies wealth without any enterprise. So we are where we are today based on all these factors. Wale Edun is 110% correct, but it's not just enough for them to lament and state the obvious that every one of us know. What are we doing to recover most of these monies? When it happened in 2010, 2011, National Assembly staged a probe, and most of the people that were part of those gangsterism then are still remitting monies to the Federation account. The Tinubu government should muster courage, and if the National Assembly do not have the balls to do this, Wale Edun is the coordinating minister of the economy, should work with the CBN and EFCC to go back and if we can recover $100 billion out of the estimated $185 billion that left this economy, we will be in a very good state to begin to rebuild.
Okay, Nnaemeka, I know you are an economist, but do you see the intertwining of economic policies and political decisions contributing to this situation? And I ask you because Wale Edun made that submission to federal lawmakers who allowed for this to happen in the first instance. Mr. Nnaemeka, if you can hear me.
I can't hear you.
Okay.
Your line is breaking.
Oh, sorry about that. Communication, they do have the days. I was asking you if you do see how politics and economy intertwine in this situation we find ourselves in Nigeria. Because Mr. Wale Edun was making such a submission to the federal lawmakers. Some of them have been there since ages past. They were part of the Buhari administration. They allowed the federal government get away with blue murder, if you like, with the ways and means securitizing.
I totally agree with you. For us to move this country forward, we need to do away with politics and begin to govern. We are where we are today because we placed politics over the welfare and the good of the majority of Nigerians. And we need to stop playing politics and face the business of governance. One of the reasons, again, why we have inflation rate at this level is because of insecurity. You saw what happened in Kaduna State. Bandits was into primary and secondary school and kidnapped scores of pupils. And it's very obvious that after wasting $27 billion tackling insecurity in Nigeria over the last 8 years, that we've not yet touched it. We need to go back to the drawing board. The current security infrastructure, the current security architecture in Nigeria is not working. We need to go back to work for us between 1960 to 1966. Close your eyes and imagine if Chikun local government area have a community-based vigilante group in every of the community in Chikun local government area with the right motivation, the right incentives, the right dedication and diligence to protect the lives and properties of their children and their kids and their people. And they are equally armed with sophisticated AK-47 and some of those things that the bandits carry around. And they have communication gadgets and they get their communities. There is no way these bandits will walk into those communities and carry those children away without being traced. Even before the military will rally around, the community vigilante will have engaged them. They will have even gathered intelligence. But the problem we have today is that the current security architecture is not working. And if we don't fix insecurity, there's no way we can fix governance. You cannot fix food insecurity. You cannot stop inflation if you do not tackle insecurity and corruption, which are the twin demons destroying this economy. And it is destroying this economy because we have refused to restructure this country, the constitutional, the physical, the socio-economic, the governance, the resource production and control framework of Nigeria back to the 1963 arrangements that enable productivity to be the order of the day as we had it then. There was no fossil fuel revenue the way we have it today. Yet, each of the regions in Nigeria then, we had the economies growing at an average of 8 to 9% per annum. In fact, we had the fastest growing economy in the old Eastern Nigeria, in the whole of the Commonwealth. We need to go back to the drawing board. I give you an example. Inflation is where you have very few goods being chased with too much money, where you have supply of goods and services deficient compared to consumption. For example, a bag of rice now is selling for 80,000 naira or more in the market, 50 kg. And we know that if we are producing 15,000 15 million tons of rice against the consumption of 7.5 million tons in Nigeria, that we will have more supply than demand, and the price will crash. Of course, what are the input costs that even make the cost of rice cultivation to be high? One is energy cost. Energy cost, because we import practically everything we produce, everything we consume here in terms of white petroleum products, diesel, because NEPA, PHS, the electricity companies are not working. How do we tackle that? We have to refine everything we consume here. The NNPC leadership went to the National Assembly last year, and they promised that by January, Port Harcourt Refinery will be working. By March, Warri will kick in. Today is March 7th. We are not refining anything. And we know those refineries were built in a period of 13 years, between 1972 to 1986. If we could build 3 brand new refineries under the military in 13 years, and under civilians for 24 years, we cannot fix it, then something is wrong. Why have we not privatized those refineries? Put them in a basket. NNPC put them in an SPV. Sell down 80% of these refineries, the shares in them, to private sector investors. Warri has 125,000 barrels a day. Port Harcourt can do 210,000 barrels if fully working. And then these private investors will collocate another 160,000 barrels. Will give them marginal fuel that enable them produce enough crude to refine in those refineries under a very templated cost plus margin arrangement, in such a way that there is no unit of the white petroleum product in Nigeria that can sell for 750 naira per liter. I give you an example. To produce a barrel of crude is about $31 maximum. To refine a barrel of crude is $10. 30% margin is $13.03, $53. 30 cents. If you use the official exchange rate at 1,005, that is 79,994. Divided by 159 liters in a barrel, you will have average of 506 naira per liter. And then by the time you put all that logistics costs and ancillary costs, there is no way, if we have this subsidized production under a private-public joint venture arrangement, where these refineries are meant to work under a private sector arrangement, we will have most of the products refined crude produced under this arrangement refined in Nigeria. Then we will have something like the InBet, a refined petroleum product bulk purchase company, an SPV that will have Ipman, Nigerian Labour Congress being part of that SPV, to ensure that nothing refined here under such arrangement is exported out of Nigeria.
Okay, Dr. Nnaemeka, allow me come in here because you speak of this very important issue at a time where the IMF and a couple of others have said subsidy is back on petrol. Despite the federal government and the NNPC being in denial, I wonder if you do agree with the IMF that subsidies are back and they will cost us a fortune very quickly. Yeah, and you also refer to this proverbial drawing board. One will begin to think that there probably isn't a board anymore to go back to in Nigeria, because despite the policies put in place by the administration, the economy is still dragging. What is responsible for that? Dr. Nnaemeka, if you can hear me.
I didn't hear your last sentence.
Yeah, I was saying that in over almost a year, the Tinubu administration has come into power. The president and others at the helms of the economy have tried to put in measures, policies to fix the economy, but it continues to drag regardless. What is responsible for all of this? If you can, in the next 2 minutes, so we can wrap up.
What is responsible is because we have placed politics above governance. We are not short of good pronouncements. Removal of subsidy is very, very good, but removal of subsidy has been defeated because of the devaluation of the naira. As of today, a liter of PMS is 69 cents. If naira to the dollar exchange rate had remained at 400, it would have been about 300, 400 naira per liter. But because we have devalued naira, that is where we are. We need to put governance over politics. And just like Professor Mohalo said, we need to put round pegs in round holes. We need to seek out help We need to do the right. I'm giving you in just 3 minutes templated format on how we can refine everything we produce here under a subsidized production arrangement. Now, even without subsidy, we will not sell any product of the white petroleum product at more than $7.50. No matter what happened in the global market, either crude oil prices fluctuating or the refined petroleum product fluctuating. What we need to do is to sit down and make sacrifices. Put the good of the people in place, fix insecurity, stop the corruption, stop the leakages, make the recoveries. As of today, over $185 billion left the economy without being explained. In 2019, Autoja report said 107 million liters of crude oil, barrels of crude oil was sold, and the record could not be found in Nigeria. What are we doing to recover most of these monies and to take actions that will boost investor confidence, that will boost the confidence of Nigerians to put their trust back on the government, not just at the federal level, across the 3 tiers of government? Look at what Alex Oti is doing in Abia State. The kind of social and trust capital he has built is bringing investors going into his state. This has to be replicated at the federal level. Okay. Nigerians are not swayed by rhetorics or body language. Actions speaks louder than imaginations. Indeed. And than even body language.
Indeed. Dr. Nnaemeka, development economist, thank you so much. That's a fine place to leave it. We do appreciate your time on Prime Time today. Thank you so much. And we do hope that the authorities are listening and taking note. Thank you. Well, that's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Do join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye, and thank you for watching.